What if I told you there's a big plot hole in this scene? And I'll tell you all about it soon enough, along with a ton of other mistakes. Because even though I love the Super Mario Bros. Movie, after watching it 537 times, I've caught a few errors here and there. And I'm not talking about inconsistencies with the game series, like how Mini Mario doesn't straight up die here. I'm talking things like continuity errors, animation mistakes, nonsensical geography, and yes, even some pretty big plot holes. So buckle up as we're about to reveal a ton of mistakes that Nintendo and Illumination don't want you to see.
And now no one can stop me!
So let's put the mistake counter on the screen and get started. The classic Mario game sound effects they can hear throughout the plumbing commercial don't make any sense to be here, as they're sourced from the Mushroom Kingdom, which Mario hasn't even been to yet. Also, their commercial is 38 seconds long, which is both too long and too short for the standard ad spots of 30 and 60 seconds respectively. Okay, this next one isn't a movie mistake per se, but it's definitely still a big mistake. Spike literally leaves a whole ass pizza behind after eating just a single slice.
Who does that?
Speaking of leaving things behind, Luigi just tosses his phone here and completely forgets about it. Again, not technically a movie mistake, but we're still gonna count it. Speaking of Luigi's phone, did you ever wonder where he grabbed it from? He seemingly pulls out of thin air here. Until, that is, you remember that he has a giant pocket on the front of his overalls. Okay, so that's actually a pretty good detail. But if we go back to the previous segment where they're watching their own commercial on the TV, we can pretty clearly see that there's actually nothing in that pocket at all. Furthermore, could Luigi really use a touchscreen with those thick gloves on? So how do Mario and Luigi even know where the customer lives? Luigi never asked for an address.
Because we can be there and we can fix it right away, okay.
But that's actually the least of the problems involving that customer. As it turns out, they may as well live in
the Twilight Zone.
Like how Francis's teeth changes between shots. Here, they look all friendly and almost human-like, but later on, they're replaced by a set of fangs. Luigi wasn't kidding when he called him a While we're here in the bathroom, there's another problem. Do you see the window there? You know, the same one that they later dangled from? That's clearly a French-style window, with two halves that open outward. Yet, when Mario and Luigi first arrive on the scene, that same window is clearly just a single pane of glass. It doesn't even look like it can open from out here. And we know they're both meant to be the same window, because the street in both shots perfectly match, including these two parked cars. And that's not the only window issue, because look at how huge the living room windows appear when the dog dangles in front of them, and how tiny they look by comparison from the outside, with the dog taking up almost the entire width of the center one. Plus, did you catch that the windows are split horizontally here, turning what should be 3 windows into 6? We also shouldn't be able to see Mario's reflection here, as he's not actually hanging below the edge of the wall here, which he would have to be in order to show up in the reflection. Furthermore, from the outside, we can clearly see a chandelier hanging from the ceiling. But as you might have guessed, there's a problem here too. That's where the lost floor should be, you know, the one leading to the bathroom. But there's clearly nothing hanging from it. And the actual ceiling, where the chandelier appears to be hung from, is far too high up to have been visible from the outside. So yeah, there's some weird stuff going on here. But none of this compares to the biggest mistake. What if I told you that this bathroom window shouldn't exist? From the inside, we can see the entrance to the bathroom is right above the center window that Mario catches the dog in front of, which makes sense. Which means the bathroom window that they're dangling from would have to be directly behind the bathroom door for that to work. Except, it isn't. That's where the mirror is, with the window being located to the left, putting it right behind these shelves. Which from the outside would place it on the right side of the building, as in along this wall and not that one. Meaning these shots should be impossible. Yeah, that's a pretty big blunder. Okay, I've got another plot hole for you.
Yeah, but what's with the outfits?
That comment doesn't really make any sense, because he's suggesting that these outfits aren't what they typically wear, even though we know from Luigi's memory that they've been wearing these same outfits since they were freaking babies. But maybe Luigi's misremembering or something. Wait a second. Mario's clearly playing Kid Icarus on an American NES. Yet the game over music that we hear is actually from the Japanese-only Famicom version, which had a few extra notes. Well, the Japanese version definitely sounds better, so I can see why they changed it. Also, there's something weird going on with Mario's NES controller, as the B button appears to be stuck in the pressed position. Is it broken? But then it appears to be fine a few seconds later. And how is Mario still getting a news broadcast that perfectly fits his old school 4x3 TV? New York completely switched over to a digital widescreen format over a decade ago. So we've covered a lot of mistakes so far, and we've got a lot more coming. But the biggest mistake of them all would be not clicking that subscribe button to keep up with all of our videos. So please give it a click. Moving on, Mario and Luigi's clothing sure does look awfully dry for having just jumped into a flooded sewer, waded through a ton of water, and broaching a waterfall. Lucky them, I suppose, as I can only imagine how uncomfortable that would be to wear otherwise. After Luigi gets sucked into the warp pipe and blasted out into the Darklands, why doesn't he just turn around and take the warp pipe straight back? It's right there! And if Mario did the same thing, then their problem is totally resolved. Same thing for Baby Peach. Did the Toads not consider just sending her right back where she came from? When touring the Mushroom Kingdom, we can just barely see a fish store in the background. But there's something off about it. Specifically, the texture for the fish on the right side of the logo. We can see how it's supposed to look later in the movie. Shortly after, Mario catches a ride through a clear pipe, but he exits via a red one. Maybe there was supposed to be a scene there that filled in the gap? Look at that world map. Isn't it lovely? Except for the fact that it doesn't make any geographical sense. Because in our hero's quest from the Mushroom Kingdom to the Kong Kingdom, we can see they travel to the desert, then all the way over to Yoshi's Island, which is clearly farther away from the Kong Kingdom. What? But then again, real life maps aren't always entirely accurate either. What do you say we hit pause for a moment on the bigger mistakes, and instead do a speed run on every object that mysteriously goes missing? Ready? Cue the music. Remember Captain Toad's walking stick? Well, it disappears right after they use it to climb the mushroom. Look, earrings! No earrings! Earrings! Where did this question block even come from? It's nowhere to be found beforehand, and then it disappears again immediately after. Hey, same thing for that brick right there too! Toad clearly throws his bag in the back of the cart, yet it's nowhere to be found in every other shot until they arrive. After Peach removes her helmet, that's the last we see of it, as she's clearly no longer holding it, and is nowhere to be found on the ground. When Toad drops his frying pan when being tortured, it, you guessed it, disappears in every subsequent shot. Woo! Alright, speed run's over, back to the bigger mistakes. Like how during Mario's training montage, Peach visibly falls asleep, and then awakens shortly thereafter. The problem is that between those two scenes, we can just barely see Peach standing in the background fully awake. Whoops. Okay, this is a great gag, but hold up, if Bowser fried the poor guy, how the heck did his gloves survive? Wait a second, he didn't even have gloves before! Where did they come from? Here's an odd one. When Mario kicks a Koopa shell, if we slow it way down, we can see that it actually phases through a barrel on the rebound, without interacting with it in any way. Is it a magic shell? Do you remember the scene where Bowser slams Mario into the pizzeria, knocking him right into a TV? Well, if we slow down the previous shot, we can see that Mario actually lands somewhere to the right of the TV. Furthermore, if we compare that window before it broke to the same one from earlier in the movie, we can see it's missing quite a few decorations, like the punch-out decal, the open sign, and a whole bunch of posters. Also, now that we're back in the pizzeria, do you remember that barbershop just across the street? Well, that building has changed entirely from when we saw it earlier in the movie. What is this, the Matrix? When Peach is racing back to the Mushroom Kingdom, we can see her approaching the castle from the back side, which is where the whole training sequence took place. But then she somehow ends up in town approaching the castle from the exact opposite direction. Talk about taking the scenic route. Okay, I'm no seismologist, but there's no way Mario and Luigi's very rectangle-shaped bedroom could fit inside this very round Toad house. Heck, even the door doesn't match, as it's rectangular here, like most doors, and rounded here. Finally, I want to end on a plot hole that's generally the only one that actually bothers me. When we first return to New York, we have an establishing shot of Mario's entire family eating breakfast. Everyone, that is, except for Mario and Luigi, of course, seeing as how they've been in the Mushroom Kingdom. Here's the thing. Shouldn't their family be worried about why there's 2 empty spots at the table? Especially since they've seemingly been missing for at least a few days? Oh, okay, I have to try and rationalize this somehow. Like, maybe Mario and Luigi take frequent random vacations without telling anyone? Okay, well, they're broke, so that can't work. Maybe they have other family that they visit on occasion and stay at their house for a few days? I don't know, I can't really explain this one. And there you have it, 41 mistakes that I found in the Super Mario Bros. Movie. And while I'm sure there's even more scattered about that I've missed, that's still impressively few considering just how much is going on scene to scene, along with how many times I've watched this darn thing. Furthermore, I have no doubt that some of these mistakes in quotes, were likely intentional for creative reasons. Like, for example, if Toad's walking stick didn't disappear here, it'd be pretty distracting in this shot. And there's absolutely no way that the creators didn't catch on to the bathroom's layout making absolutely no sense at all. But those choices were almost certainly done for the betterment of their respective scenes. In any case, did you notice any mistakes that I missed? Tell me all about them in the comments below, along with which mistake bothers you the most. And please, let me know if there's any way to rationalize Mario's family not caring about their absence at all. I need it! And with that, make sure to click the subscribe button and ring the bell for tons more Mario coverage straight from us. And with that, we'll catch you later.